I was feeling guided to jump on and do a collective reading. So if you were guided here, drawn here is meant for you. What do we have for whoever was drawn to this reading? The Devil card. There's certain levels of toxicity, difficulties, struggle that's being highlighted for you. It could be more so a limitation or certain lack of freedom, if you will. But it feels like you're going to be seeing certain changes moving forward that's going to lighten things up for you, leaving you feeling less trapped if that was the case for you. But I do feel like there's a focus on illumination moving forward. I also feel like being drawn to this reading, there's a focus on the fact that you do have a lot of wealth to be appreciated at this time, looking differently, of course, for each person drawn to the reading. A lot of material wealth for a lot drawn to the reading. But I also feel like there's a focus on a lot of goods and abundance in general moving forward that you're going to acquire. It feels like you being drawn to this reading, you're the type of individual that acquires what you need the most when you need it, okay? When it's destinedly meant to come to be. But I also feel like being drawn to this reading, you're the type of individual that's meant to live a healthy, wealthy future moving forward, all right? Being reminded at certain points that your health is your wealth, but there's just a craving for a hunger for more money, more material wealth in that sense as well. It feels like you're the type of individual, rooting back to your childhood for a lot drawn to the reading, that you are just a type of person that wants to be wealthy, right? It's not all that you value, all that you crave, all that you see in your future for yourself, or at least desire, but you're the type of individual that doesn't want to settle for less, okay? But it's meant to be, let's just label it rich, okay? I also feel like there's a lot to learn from what you've left behind. You are the type of individual at times, you could be coming off a bit intimidating, even if you're not meaning to, or even if you're not picking up on that. But there are certain nervous moments for you individually that are being highlighted as growing pains, right? Or just difficulties to overcome to become stronger moving forward, more skilled, however that looks for you. I really feel like even if you're not at this point, you're a very spiritual soul, or will be, all right? Somebody who has a very strong intuition and needs to put that to use as far as getting your voice out there, potentially spirit's voice as well, and needing to just at times advise people, help people, guide people even. So I feel like there's a focus on you being a true leader at heart. I do feel as if there's going to be levels of victory to be acquired for you due to all that you've achieved, and will more so moving forward. And the overcoming of certain difficulties, obstacles once again, all right? I also feel like there's a lot of fire signs drawn to this reading, but either way, there's a focus on, or even within your chart, heavily or partially aspected. But either way, there's a focus on how passionate you truly are, okay? Keep your eye on the timestamp is what I'm getting. So random, or the clock. I feel like spirit likes to communicate with you specifically through angel numbers, and it doesn't have to necessarily be repeating numbers, right? Like 1111 being a very obvious one. Things like 238. Okay, look up that angel number meaning, 238. The Empress card, the Five of Swords, the Seven of Cups, and the Chariot. When you feel motivated to change something, even if you know that's going to take a bit to get it accomplished, to see that change come to be, even if you notice that there's a lot that you need to acquire or change before that's going to come to be, trust that that motivation is tied into your intuition and potentially as well your spirituality. It feels like your intuition is going to take a significant increase moving forward. So when you just feel something, when you just feel the need to steer clear of a person, place, or situation, you best trust that, because it feels like this is going to guide you to and from what's meant to be, all right? It also feels like you are going to be joined by a spirit in the upcoming days following when you're drawn to this reading, and that spirit is going to make you nervous and then inform you of something of importance, whether it's through a synchronicity, through your thoughts, it could be through a dream, you name it. Some sort of guidance in that sense. Anyways, the Seven of Cups, because I feel like at times You have a lot to get done, a lot to choose from even. Your pickiness is purposeful when it comes to people, friends, dating, when it comes to commitments where you live, things of that nature, choosing, say, a new car, even when it comes to career situations. It feels like a lot of witch drawn to the reading have decided to up and leave situations quite quickly after beginning them, excuse me. Maybe because it made you nervous, maybe because you just felt intuitively that it wasn't meant to be, or even for some, like myself, spiritually messed with and guided away from that situation. It felt impossible to stick with what wasn't meant for you in the long run. And I also feel like at times, and don't take this in the wrong way, and I feel like you kind of feel that way about other people when they're perceiving you, you kind of feel above certain people. Does that make sense? And I feel like this is because you've been through a lot. It could be due to who you have around you at times spiritually, certain spirits. It could be in regards to who you have been and are till at this time associated with. Could be even more in regards to the way you were raised or what you have at hand. Either way, I feel like this is going to develop moving forward because of all that you're going to gain. Doesn't mean you're going to become more like that. It's just going to change. Spirit's also saying make sure to keep your humble side quite alive and present within your vision, your perspective. And remember that any stresses that you do deal with, your spirituality being affected by energy, who and what is within your situation are multiple at this time, any steps in the right direction that leave you with a bump along your path, if not multiple, you can overcome that, or you just know better at times intuitively and experience-wise not to rock the boat or respond or do anything about it per se. It reminds me of me being spiritually messed with. Say, I could at times respond to that spirit, talk back, I could try to stop it, but you just kind of have to cope with it and go with the flow and recognize that there are other beautiful positives and benefits from spirituality all the meanwhile. Does that make sense? And so that could be exactly what it is for you, but for a lot drawn to this reading, it's something completely different. So needing to at times recognize wholeheartedly when the benefits, the positives outweigh the negatives, but also needing to strategically and intelligently recognize when the negatives, even if they don't outweigh the positives, are not something you should be putting up with or even having to cope with. Does that make sense? But at times, say, again, if it's your spirituality, this isn't something you can get rid of. It's just who you are, and it may even take an increase moving forward. Probably will. So a need to just learn as you go. With that said and done, I feel like there is a focus on the fact that you are good at this point of kind of going through the trial and errors, figuring things out, learning quite quickly, right? Picking things up left and right on how to improve, how to master something, how to see something grow and prosper for yourself, how to impress people even if you're not meaning to or choosing to, right? So that's going to be put to use moving forward in different ways that you can't see at this time. But I also feel like you're needing to remember that people with cold energy, they're going through it or have been through it, because it feels like that doesn't mean you have to be around them, be wrapped up with them, or keep them in your life, your situation. But it does mean that you at times need to remember to remember that there's a lot more going on behind that cold energy, environment or that nature. All right. I also feel like your connection to nature is going to take a highlight moving forward in a really big way in regards to how weather affects you, how being wrapped up with nature at times does really calm you down, reground you, needing to feel out a situation and make a decision from there. That was completely separate. And that may be in regards to you making an important choice moving forward. But for some, I feel like it's more in regards to whether or not to it's a choice to continue with something, right? Or to continue wrapping yourself up with somebody, or to take them on as a friend or dating, you name it, okay? I also feel like you're very intuitive in regards to who to trust, right? Being drawn to this reading, I guarantee that you have been wrapped up with, potentially dated, or even friends who stabbed you in the back or just weren't trustworthy in the end. And Spirit's saying your perspective is everything on a multitude of levels, but in this case, Think about it. Yes, it hurts even to this day to think about that, or it rubs you the wrong way. It irks you, I want to say. And you potentially still need to heal from this one, if not multiple people, right? I feel like some of which dated a narcissist, if not multiple. Anyways, just a side note. Okay, hearing the voices within is what I'm hearing, but I do feel as if, yeah, again, perspective, because if you never dated that person or those people, if you never had that friend, if not multiple, or family member that stabbed you in the back or treated you poorly, or you may have just put up with all of this or some of which too long, would you have the skill set, the ability to decipher as easily at this point along your path? Probably not. Would you be able to depict or just pick out, notice when somebody resembles certain red flags similar to that situation? Probably not, right? And so it highlights the fact that even certain negatives, right, from the past and even currently for some drawn to the reading, have their purpose along your path. They're saying karmic situations, okay? But it feels like all the meanwhile, there's a lot of new beginnings, giving birth to certain changes, developments, more success for you on the horizon, more comfort is what I'm hearing, more warmth. But there, I guarantee, will be some spiritual messing with and affect the effective energy for some that does rock the boat at times. But I do feel like being drawn to this reading, again, you're being reminded a lot of success in every area of your life. They're saying more connecting with people and reconnecting strategically, but a lot of financial improvement on a multitude of levels, a lot of material wealth. And I just feel like some of what's drawn to the reading are meant to be in the spotlight. I'm hearing the word fame or famous, okay? It feels like moving forward, needing to not be afraid to strategically whip out your sword and make changes, but to charge forth towards more for yourself in a very strategic, intuitive way. It feels like you have a very successful future, all right? So I hope this was really helpful. Sending you so much love and light, and I'll see you next time.